Hello everyone, my name is Eric Mullins, and today we're going to be checking out Kotobukiya Bishoujo's line, Catwoman Returns. She's a 1/7 figure, and this is the second time they pull out a Catwoman. Hence the returns. The Catwoman Returns box is tiny. Look how small this thing is! Oh my goodness, I'm used to these things being double the size, if not more. I can understand why this would be a hard sell in a local comic shop due to the fact that it's so small, and paying such a price point, people can't even really see the figure because the plastic casing inside is just over the top. You see her face, that's it. We get this beautiful Shunya artwork on the front and on the side here, and as beautiful as it is, it's completely and utterly false advertising because her legs aren't up, they're down. But we'll talk about this a little later. Let's get her open and see what we've got here. I don't really keep my boxes. What an odd way to have this open up. When you're taking this type of plastic off, be very careful and go really slowly, especially when it's an older figure. This sort of plastic over time, I don't know if it's acid-free or not, but it's just because it will peel off some of the paint that had been done on your figure. I've had this happen to me before, and actually more than once. So take your time, go nice and slow, and you won't have problems, hopefully. On her tail here, they put a plastic tape protector. This is even more dangerous than the last plastic I was showing you. This thing will absolutely rip all the paint off easily if you're not very, very careful. Look how cute and adorable this thing is. It's so tiny. I could just put her on my shoulder and we could go on isekai adventures together. All right, so let's start off by talking about that base. I'm just so funny. She doesn't have one. She has accessories around her, but there's no base on this figure. Wow. This is really cool, especially for those of us that have little to no space. This figure is amazing. So let's get into those accessories. The first one being the pool of coins just flowing underneath her body. We got a couple of golden ones and a ton of silver. It looks pretty nice. I'm trying to see if there's anything identifiable on it, like maybe it mentions Gotham somewhere. Maybe we have a two-headed one where you would know it's a two-headed because the face would be scratched off Two-Face style. They didn't seem to put any kind of Easter eggs in it like that, but it's well painted with the use of metallic paints, and I love how this really separates it from the rest of the figure. It pops just like shiny change would pop underneath someone while they're sitting on it. Afterwards, she's leaning against, kids love it, adults always want it, bag of money. This is a sweet sack o' cash. It looks amazing, they didn't cheap out on it. We have multiple layers of cash coming out of here. The top really shows off B. Franklin's, while underneath we get a bit more of that $100 in design where the paint isn't perfectly done on it, and this is okay. I think it's nice that there's parts that are a little blurred out, scratched off, feels like real money. These aren't brand new fresh bills. She's in Gotham. The cash does feel a little bit thick with its plastic, but I'm not gonna knock on this because I just like the way it splays out and how well layered it is. The burlap sack is very burlappy, where we get all this gorgeous shading all across. I think they started off with a lighter base and then they just put shading all around it, so it gives off the effect that there are some highlights. Kind of sells us on that gritty Gotham bag of money that she has. Inside this bag of money, you can tell that she has Isis, her cute little kitty. It's adorable. We just have the tail on there. We don't see any more of the body. I think it might have been cute to have the head maybe popping out on the other end. Maybe we could see some eyes kind of shining in the inside of it. Something like that would have been nice. However, this is still excellent, and it's such a great inclusion, it makes the whole thing just adorable. When we get a good look underneath this figure, you get to see how she lies down on the ground without a base. I would almost suggest maybe getting a cute little thing to put under her that's soft so you don't scratch up the paint job that's on here. However, it doesn't really matter because, how often are you going to be looking underneath her? There's not really that much to show off there. The sculpt work on her body from underneath does look really nice. It's just not super pronounced. And that's okay, because again, we're not really looking at it. Another one of her lovely accessories is this amazingly gorgeous whip. and she whips it real good. I love this whip. It looks awesome. I think it's cute that it wraps around her body. You have this cute little cat logo at one end while the other one really coils up, and it's done in such a cute manner that feels like it's her tail. It's so adorable. The plastic on this little whippy tail is also matte, and it curls up in the same manner as her own matte little kitty that's in the bag of money. It's a good design callback. Starting with her boots, my goodness, these are high heels. They're just so tall. They're super cute, super gorgeous. I love the line work that we get around them. Everything here feels so latexy, so dominatrixy, so femme fatale, but due to her pose and her facial expression, it comes off as being so cute and innocent. I would have really liked this. Having some sort of stiletto high heel adventure where underneath she actually has some major traction would have been cool, especially since due to the way she's posing her right leg, you can actually see under the heels. So, I mean, this was a missed opportunity to be really creative. The clips of her boots are well done. They just look like regular belted clips. I would have liked to have seen a metal pike that goes through belts like this with a couple of holes afterwards, so it looks like she could tighten it up. As it is here, it kind of feels more like a ballistic belt, which is okay. I just feel like it's not the sort of thing she would have going on. Though this specific Catwoman costume design is a lot more efficient compared to other ones she's had over the years. Once we reach the end of these boots, we then get into the latex of her suit, and here is where I'm kind of like, so I made a figure review on Domino from the X-Men made by Kotobukiya, where they went glossy black, glossy black, glossy black. Everything's latex. And with Domino, I would have preferred to see still black gloss, just more rugged textures. It would have been cool to get a bit of that here. However, with Catwoman, I feel like I'm a little more lenient towards it just because she's such a spicy, show-off individual with a personality to match in comparison to someone like Domino, that it kind of works here for her. We get some nice folds in her plastic, though they're not as pronounced as I would have liked, especially the way her leg is going up there. I feel like I would have made that line on her left leg dig in just a bit more. Meanwhile, the right leg looks pretty perfect, but we're not really getting to see it that much depending on how you're going to pose her. I mean, it's the back. As her legs come down into her thighs, they're very thick. It gives her a nice hourglass shape. Her behind is incredibly well sculpted, though I would say it should have been a bit more pronounced, especially considering her pose. We get a couple of stretches in the fabric going across at the top part of her behind, and this is a little bit weird considering her legs are together. They're not stretched apart, so why do we have that? This is something that should not have been there from a realistic or design standpoint, but I guarantee you it was forced to be put there to remove a bit of the sexuality that this character's already exuding. It's weird to see DC doing things like this considering they always try to push their more adult atmosphere. They shouldn't be trying to compete with Marvel. They should just be doing their thing the way they like to do it. Once we get into her hips, we finally reach that belted whip of hers, where we then go into the top part of her latex suit, and there's all sorts of folds and bends in the fabric here, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. I like a lot of the line work that we get here and there. However, I still feel like there should have been some sectioned off parts with different types of textures. Maybe the side of her body could have still been glossed out. We could have had a bit of an outline under her armpits where they could have put a mesh or something like that there so it looks like it breathes a little more while she does her flips, combat, stealing, robbery shenanigans. But the fact that it doesn't have it isn't an eyesore, it still looks gorgeous. I just would have liked a bit more separation in texture. Her left arm goes down and rests on her side, where she has this kind of claw look, like maybe she's picking up the money and dropping it ever so slightly in I would say, an attempt to annoy or act superior fashion. We get some nice tubing for the glove, where it looks like her arm actually goes into it, which is gorgeous. But because it's on the same type of black gloss, it kind of gets lost. These fingers are really nice. I like how they put the claws at the end. Maybe it would have been nice to have the claws with a bit of silver touch at the end, but at the same time, the black makes it really feel like the cartoon. Her right arm comes out and rests on her left knee, and all of this just seems very natural, again in kind of a playful, teasing fashion. It is mildly apparent that her arms are both separated pieces that have been glued on after the fact, but because they're put in the right areas of her costume, it doesn't look like it too much, it just feels like it's outlining from the costume itself. She has this thick collar going all around her neck. It almost feels kind of like piratey, I guess. The inside part of the collar should have also maybe had a different type of texture, something that looked a little softer than just the latex on latex. It's just a lot of shiny black gloss. But all this extra super gloss really does make her stand out against all the accessories that she has all around her. One thing I would like to mention is that this zipper should have gone down further onto her costume, at least below her actual belt whip, because Without seeing it here, it's okay. It's just I don't like how it ends under the whip. It's just from a design point of view, it just kind of ends out of nowhere. It didn't need to go all the way down. I think it just maybe should have ended around the bottom of her stomach. The zipper for her latex costume is gorgeous. I love how we have all the little teeth for the zipper coming down. The giant circular pole piece for the zipper is gorgeous, and it doesn't seem to have any paint runoff, which I kind of thought it would, but no, it's done pretty well here. She's spicily showing off that chest of hers because clearly she's trying to attract and allure the attention of the bat, and she knows it's gonna work. Check out that smirk that she's throwing at him. That is confidence right there. Chest is well pronounced. We don't really get any shading, but we get a little bit of highlights here and there from the darker skin tone that they had originally used, where she has a very pronounced collarbone. For those of you that have seen a couple of my other reviews, you'd know that I love this. Her neck is very nicely defined as well, where we then get into her face. Her face is incredibly Western. The fact that she's giving a bit of a smirk, but they give her a dimple rather than that anime line chub that you would normally give. She has well-defined cheekbones as well as quite the nose. Her lipstick and mouth is relatively small, and I would say that the anatomical construction of her head in general is just really American comic book. The eyes do give off a bit of an anime vibe, but I've seen some hardcore anime Catwomans throughout my life, and this is very far from that. Even Shunya's illustration has bigger eyes than what we see on this figure. I can't get enough of this helmet. The Arkham City video game Catwoman has always been my favorite of them all. I just love that design. I love that design in the comics. I would have preferred her goggles to maybe be like a purple because I really like the purple, but the orange is nice, and I'm not going to dunk on it. It's still gorgeous. Not to mention that the color of these goggles kind of works well with the color of the money that she has down here, so I mean, from a design purpose, it is better to have that color. Finally, we get a little bit of texture with the band to these goggles, and it's beautiful. Despite the helmet actually being the same type of gloss as the rest of the latex that we have on here with no texture, it does look relatively thick, comfortable. Out of the lines that we have along the top of the helmet, this is really great. The cat ears look amazing. We get to see a bit more of that silver on the clip under her helmet, holding it on her head. Afterwards, we have her hair, which is very non-existent. She has short hair, so you don't really see it that much, but the little strands that do come out are nice. It doesn't seem like we have any highlights or shading on it, but that's okay. It's matte and very well sculpted. Upon her release back in 2019, she was going for 10,500 yen. That's a very good price. I think that she's definitely worth it because of all the detail that they put into her. She's very cute, very adorable. But despite gushing on all the really good things that this figure does, there's just one major aspect that it's not doing particularly well, and it's literally what it's supposed to be attracting for their target audience. This doesn't feel like an anime figure. This feels like a Western figure that's trying to slightly mimic anime, but it doesn't go anywhere near the distance. It's not 50-50. I would say it's 90% Western, 10% anime. I still love it. I think it's adorable. I think it's gorgeous. I love so many different types of art styles, so it doesn't bother me too much. But for a hardcore anime manga fan and a fan of the Batman franchise, you may be a little bit disappointed with that, especially when comparing it to Shunya's initial artwork. That drawing is all sorts of 50-50. It looks epic. And I didn't get that here. That's like literally the definition of false advertising. But does that fault this as a figure on its own? Absolutely not. This thing is very nice. When I had picked her up, it was randomly when I walked into a little comic shop in my neck of the woods, and they just had it there. I've wanted this figure for a little while, but I missed out on the pre-order years ago. So seeing at this little shoppy where they had her for a relatively good price, it's actually exactly how much I would have paid for her had I ordered her off of AmiAmi on her release, with shipping and then having to pay customs to my country. So I didn't save anything, but I didn't make anything. It's just, I'm pretty happy with that because I think the secondary market for her is slowly trickling up there like so many Kotobukiya figures are, and the lack of major anime aesthetic isn't something that's going to affect my decision so much. Back in the day, I used to have the original Catwoman statue. It was very pretty, there was elements about it I really liked, but then there was so many things involving the body's anatomy that I didn't like. The torso was a perfect circle, like her body was shaped like a noodle. And despite some of you probably not minding the noodle circular body, I like when body has all sorts of curves to it. Probably why I draw so many of my characters like kind of curvy. Kinda? If this figure had the larger eyes and the legs pointing outwards, it would have felt a lot more anime, but it would have been so much more spicier. The fact that they bring the legs down makes it so much cuter. And I don't mind this. It's just if I had been buying this based off of the illustration, I would have been pissed off. Another thing is that they named this figure Catwoman Returns, yet they modeled her more off of the current New 52 Catwoman. Why wouldn't they model her off of Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman with all the stitches from Batman Returns? Tim Burton's Catwoman was so creepy and crazy. Meanwhile, Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman felt more practical and somewhat realistic. I also really loved her Catwoman. But the Arkham City one is just... Whoa, Dreamweaver. Tonight. She's the best mix of both worlds, and you really get that with this figure. So hopefully this review helped you decide which side of the fence you're on with getting her. And if you're still not completely sure, be sure to check out other people's reviews online to get a better idea and different perspectives and opinions. Or you can always go on the My Figure webpage and check her out. There's so many reference photos you can see on there, from either product shots to actual collections. This way you have a better idea knowing of what you're getting and if she works for you or not. If you like my video just a little bit, it doesn't cost much to scratch that like, whip that subscribe, and seduce that notification bell. Hey cutie, what are you up to? I'm so bad at the seduction. I super appreciate your support, and I'll see you next time. Have an amazing day. Bye. Alright, okay. Oh my gosh, so... I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. This one. No. Yeah. Black cat. Catwoman. Black cat. Catwoman. Black cat. Catwoman. How does one choose?